Sam Allardyce is the ultimate gateway to the Premier League's survivalist culture. He doesn't just manage football teams, he manages crisis. Before the era of high pressing and inverted wingbacks, Allardyce was at Bolton Wanderers, proving that data and directness could disrupt the elite. He didn't care about beauty, he cared about efficiency. He was one of the first to embrace sports science and performance analysis, using them to turn Bolton into a top 6 threat. Players like J.J. Okocha and Yuri Djorkaeff weren't just flair players under him. They were tactical weapons in a system designed to frustrate. When you look at his later stints at Sunderland or Crystal Palace, the blueprint never changed. It was about set-piece mastery, defensive rigidity, and the Big Sam aura that convinced players they were better than their league position. He is the manager you call when the trapdoor is opening, the man who treats a 1-0 win like a masterpiece. His departure from the England job after just one game is a story of its own, a moment of personal catastrophe that overshadowed his tactical legacy. If you want to see the darker side of how these high-stakes survival battles can unravel a career, check out my previous video on every Premier League story too dark for Sky Sport, where I dive into the scandals that happened behind the scenes. Roy Hodgson represents the intellectual wing of the survivalists. With a career spanning decades and continents, Hodgson brought a European sensibility to the English relegation scrap. His time at Fulham is the gold standard for this level. He took a team destined for the championship and guided them to a Europa League final in 2010. His method is based on shape. If every player knows exactly where to stand when the opponent has the ball, the opponent eventually runs out of ideas. At Crystal Palace, he became the ultimate stabilizer, a manager who could guarantee a 12th place finish with a squad that others would have seen relegated. He doesn't have the loud personality of Allardyce or the gravelly tone of Sean Dyche, but his impact is just as profound. He is the safe pair of hands, the manager who understands that in the Premier League, staying in the room is often more important than winning the prize. Neil Warnock is the chaos agent of Level 1. While Allardyce and Hodgson use data and shape, Warnock uses psychological warfare. He is the master of the us against the world mentality. Whether at Sheffield United QPR or Cardiff City, Warnock's teams played with a chip on their shoulder. He didn't just want to win, he wanted to make the opponent uncomfortable. His touchline antics and post-match rants were designed to take the pressure off his players and put it on the referees and the big clubs. His football was physical, uncompromising, and deeply rooted in the traditions of the English game. He represents the end of an era, a manager who relied on grit and motivation in an age of algorithms. Eddie Howe at Bournemouth is the definition of Level 2's stability. He took a club from the bottom of League 2 to the top flight and kept them there for 5 seasons. Unlike the Level 1 survivalists, Howe wanted to play. He prioritized possession, high energy, and attacking intent, even when facing the giants. His success was built on long-term coaching. He didn't just buy players, he improved them. Callum Wilson, Ryan Fraser, and Nathan Ake became Premier League stars under his guidance. At Newcastle, he has evolved, blending that attacking philosophy with a new defensive steel. He represents the manager who can build a project from the ground up, turning a small-town club into a national talking point. Thomas Frank has done something similar at Brentford but with a modern, data-driven twist. The Brentford model is famous for finding value where others see risk, and Frank is the man who makes that model work on the grass. His teams are tactically flexible, switching between a back 4 and a back 5 with ease, and they are arguably the best in the league at set-piece routines. Frank's ability to keep Brentford competitive despite losing key players like Ivan Toney or David Raya shows his Level 2 mastery. He is a stabilizer who refuses to be boring. His charisma and clear communication have made Brentford a fixture of the Premier League, proving that intelligence can bridge the gap between budgets. Marco Silva is the technician of this group. From his early days at Hull City to his current success at Fulham, Silva has shown he can organize a mid-table side to compete with anyone. His Fulham team plays with a balance that is rare at this level, solid at the back with Bernd Leno, industrious in the middle with Joao Palhinha, and creative on the flanks. Silva's career has had its ups and downs, particularly at Everton, but his current work proves he belongs in the category of managers who provide more than just survival. They provide an identity. He builds teams that are difficult to beat but enjoyable to watch, the hallmark of a Level 2 architect. Marcelo Bielsa is the high priest of Level 3. His arrival at Leeds United wasn't just a managerial appointment, it was a cultural revolution. Bielsa doesn't care about the opponent's status, he only cares about his own principles. Man-marking across the whole pitch, constant rotation, and Bielsa ball intensity made Leeds the most entertaining team in the country for 2 years. He demanded a level of fitness that seemed impossible, with murder ball training sessions that pushed players to their breaking points. Calvin Phillips went from a championship midfielder to an England starter because of Bielsa's obsession with detail. The failure of the Bielsa era was its lack of a plan B, which eventually led to his exit, but his influence on the league's tactical landscape is undeniable. He proved that a system, if followed with total devotion, could bridge any talent gap. Roberto De Zerbi took the foundations Graham Potter laid at Brighton and added a layer of tactical arrogance. De Zerbi ball is about baiting the press. He wants his centre-backs to stand on the ball, inviting the opponent to attack, only to zip a pass through the lines and exploit the space behind. It is high-risk, high-reward football that turned Brighton into a European-level side. Players like Keira Mitoma and Alexis Mac Allister thrived in this system of verticality and speed. De Zerbi is a level 3 disruptor because he changed how even the elite teams approached Brighton. He made the Big Six afraid of a club with a fraction of their budget, purely through the power of his tactical ideas. Ange Postecoglou arrived at Tottenham with a "we never stop" mantra that shocked a fanbase used to the pragmatic football of Mourinho and Conte. His level 3 disruption is built on a high defensive line, sometimes suicidally high, and inverted fullbacks who act as playmakers. Ange ball is about relentless attacking. It's a philosophy that values the spectacle as much as the result. While it has led to some heavy defeats, it has also restored the Tottenham way of playing. He is a manager who would rather lose 4-3 while attacking than draw 0-0 while defending. That level of commitment to a philosophy is what separates the disruptors from the stabilizers. Mauricio Pochettino at Tottenham was the blueprint for level 4. He took a talented but soft squad and turned them into the fittest, most aggressive team in the league. His gegenpressing style, inspired by Bielsa, was refined for the Premier League. For 4 years, Spurs were consistent title challengers, reaching a Champions League final without spending a penny in multiple transfer windows. He developed the golden generation of Harry Kane, Dele Alli, and Christian Eriksen. The darkness of his story is the lack of a trophy to show for that dominance. A reminder that at the elite level, being the best of the rest is a heavy burden. His later struggles at PSG and Chelsea highlight how difficult it is to replicate that level 4 magic in different environments. Brendan Rodgers is a manager whose tactical flexibility often goes underrated. At Liverpool, he almost delivered the title in 2014 with a diamond formation that unleashed Luis Suarez and Daniel Sturridge. At Leicester, he won the FA Cup and delivered back-to-back fifth-place finishes. Rodgers is an elite contender because he builds teams that can dominate possession and hurt you in multiple ways. His downfall is often his own ambition and a tendency for his projects to lose steam in the 3rd or 4th year. However, his ability to coach high-level attacking football makes him one of the most successful British managers of the modern era. Erik Ten Hag entered the Premier League with a massive reputation from Ajax, where he had combined Cruyffian ideals with modern pragmatism. At Manchester United, he faced the ultimate level 4 challenge, rebuilding a fallen giant. His first season, including a League Cup win and a return to the Champions League, suggested he was the man to stabilize the chaos. However, the second season exposed the deep institutional rot at United. Ten Hag is a contender who relies on discipline and structural rigidity, but in the Premier League, those traits can often clash with the egos of a superstar dressing room. Antonio Conte is the tactical tyrant of level 5. He doesn't ask players to play, he commands them to execute. His 3-4-3 at Chelsea was a masterclass in tactical imposition. Within months of arriving, he had turned a team that finished 10th into runaway champions. He transformed Victor Moses into an elite wingback and made N'Golo Kante the most feared midfielder in Europe. Conte's success is built on automations, pre-rehearsed patterns of play that allow players to move without thinking. The trade-off is the intensity. Conte burns through clubs like a wildfire. He wins big, he wins fast, and then he leaves behind a scorched earth of exhausted players and frustrated board members. He is a serial winner because his methods guarantee results, but they rarely guarantee peace. Thomas Tuchel arrived at Chelsea mid-season and turned them into European champions within 6 months. His level 5 mastery is his ability to neutralize any opponent. He is a tactical chameleon. At Chelsea, he built a defensive wall that even Pep Guardiola's Manchester City couldn't break down in the 2021 Champions League final. Tuchel is a coach's coach, a man who sees football as a series of problems to be solved with logic and geometry. His departure from Chelsea was a shock, a result of boardroom clashes rather than on-pitch failure. He remains one of the few managers who can walk into any locker room in the world and immediately make the team 5 times harder to beat. Jose Mourinho in his prime was the ultimate serial winner. His first spell at Chelsea changed the Premier League forever. He introduced a 4-3-3 that overwhelmed the traditional 4-4-2s of the time. He didn't just win, he dominated. 15 goals conceded in a 38-game season is a record that may never be broken. Mourinho's level 5 genius was his ability to create a siege mentality. He made his players feel like they were part of an elite cult. Every press conference was a performance. every tactical foul a calculated move. While his later spells at United and Spurs were more controversial, his special one era remains the gold standard for how to walk into a league and claim it as your own. Jurgen Klopp is the emotional architect of level 6. He didn't just manage Liverpool, he revitalized the city. His heavy metal football was a perfect match for the Anfield atmosphere. Klopp's Liverpool were a whirlwind of energy, led by the iconic front three of Salah, Mane, and Firmino. What makes him level 6 is his longevity and his ability to build two great teams in one tenure. He took a club that was drifting in 8th place and won every major trophy available, ending a 30-year wait for a league title. Klopp's legacy isn't just the trophies, it's the connection. He proved that you could win at the highest level while staying human, authentic, and deeply connected to the fans. His departure marks the end of an era of personality-driven management that defined the last decade. Arsène Wenger is the man who modernized the English game. When he arrived in 1996, he was a mystery. Within 2 years, he had won the double. Wenger changed everything: what players ate, how they trained, and how they thought about space. His Arsenal teams played a brand of football that was almost telepathic. The Invincibles season of 2003 to 2004 is his masterpiece, a feat of consistency and flair that has never been repeated in the Premier League era. Wenger's tragedy was the second half of his career, where financial constraints and the rise of oil money clubs left his idealistic football vulnerable. Yet, his influence is everywhere. Every nutritionist, every data analyst, and every manager who wants to play the right way owes a debt to Arsène. He is a cultural architect whose impact will be felt for as long as football is played in England. Sir Alex Ferguson is the godfather of the Premier League. For 26 years, he was the sun that the English game revolved around. Ferguson's genius wasn't just tactical, it was his ability to manage change. He built 3 or 4 distinct great teams, moving players on the moment he felt they had lost their edge. From the dominance of Cantona and the class of '92 to the explosive counter-attacks of Rooney and Ronaldo, Ferguson always stayed ahead of the curve. He survived Wenger, he survived Mourinho, and he was even beating the early versions of the City project. His 13 Premier League titles are a statistic of pure madness. He ruled through fear, respect, and an uncanny ability to win games in Fergie time. When he retired, he left a void that Manchester United still hasn't filled, a testament to the fact that he wasn't just a manager. He was the institution itself. Pep Guardiola is the perfectionist who redefined the ceiling of what is possible. He took the ideas of Johan Cruyff and evolved them into a machine that produces 90-plus points every single year. His Manchester City side is the most dominant force the English game has ever seen. The Centurions, the domestic treble, and the 4 in a row are achievements that border on the impossible. Guardiola doesn't just win, he dictates. He turned goalkeepers into playmakers, midfielders into center-backs, and full-backs into number 10s. His obsession with the third man and spatial superiority has influenced every coach at every level of the pyramid. He is level 7 because he has made excellence look routine. He has raised the standards of the league to a point where a single draw feels like a crisis. He is the final boss of football management, the man who solved the game. If you enjoyed this breakdown of the minds that run the touchline, I've got plenty more coming. I'd love it if you could subscribe. It really helps the channel keep growing. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, leave a like, comment your thoughts, and subscribe, cause I'll be posting frequently here.